Welcome to Daily Dose of Aramaic. We're going to start reading the Targums. So let's situate these Aramaic translations of the Bible within the history of the Aramaic language. The first stage is Old Aramaic, and we've talked about some of these representative inscriptions before on Daily Dose of Aramaic, including the Zakur inscription, which I got to see a few weeks ago in the Louvre in Paris. From a two-dimensional perspective, it looks like I'm touching the steel. I'm actually not. The next stage is Imperial Aramaic, where Biblical Aramaic falls within this stratum. We frequently looked at Elephantine documents because they are of the same historical period, and Achaemenid Aramaic is probably the reason why this is called in scholarly circles Imperial Aramaic, because in that empire, Aramaic was the lingua franca. The next stage of the language is Middle Aramaic, and this shows that Qumran Aramaic, the Aramaic of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is our closest analog to Aramaic that Jesus spoke. And then we get to Late Aramaic, which is the stage that the Targumim fall into. The first of these would be Jewish literary Aramaic there on the left, Targum Onkelos, which is a Pentateuchal Targum, and Jonathan, a Targum to the prophets. Centuries later, there's Late Jewish literary Aramaic, and this is the dialect of Pseudo-Jonathan, which is also a Pentateuch Targum, and most of the Targums of the individual books of the writings. Now, in the middle column, you see that there's another dialect for different Targumim. This is Jewish Palestinian Aramaic, so this is a geographical term, in addition to being a dialect term. And this appears in Targum Neophiti, Fragment Targums, and the Fragment Targum witnesses among the Cairo Geniza documents. And then finally, on the right, we have Samaritan Aramaic for the Samaritan Targum, which is a fairly literalistic translation of the Samaritan Pentateuch. Now, on this chart, I just want to put this bubble showing at the same time in Babylon there is a Jewish Babylonian Aramaic, and this is what's used for the composition of the Babylonian Talmud. Now, some viewers may ask, where's Syriac? I didn't place Syriac on the chart. It would have fallen throughout that late Aramaic period because we're talking about the Targums, where there's always reference to the source document in Hebrew in the case of the Targums, whereas the Peshitta is a full-orbed Bible translation into that dialect of Aramaic. And then the last stage is the stage we're in presently with the few thousand speakers of Neo-Aramaic today. So hopefully this helps us see that the Aramaic we'll be studying as we read the Targums is a different stage of the development of the language from what we saw in the Bible, but there is a historical continuum, so there will be much commonality. So in our next episode, we will be talking about resources we use for Targum study.